Meanwhile, Gab, changing subject slightly, just confirm Harry Kane is not with you in your Alpine retreat. Is that correct?
It's funny enough, Harry Kane and I were born on the same day. Well, not a few years apart, as you probably figured out, but we share a birthday. No, Harry Kane has not been sighted here up in the Alps on the border.
What's that got to do with your birthday? What is that?
I just wanted to throw that
in. Stevie, we discussed this a lot, but it's the first time you've been on, obviously, since he didn't return to training.
Yeah.
When we were talking about this possibility a few weeks ago, you said you didn't think it was going to happen.
No.
It wasn't within him to do that. How surprised are you that he's gone through with it?
I am a little surprised. But I would say that he's probably been left with no other choice.
Right.
You know, if somebody's given him a verbal agreement and they haven't stood by it, then as nice a guy as he is and as loyal as he is, that's going to make him even more stubborn, in my opinion. So, not surprised. I'm just wondering how long it's going to last, though.
I'm laughing because there's so many weird noises coming from Gab's Alpine retreat. Gab, what's going on?
No, I love this. The verbal agreement. Come on. We're the gentleman's agreement. We're all grown-ups here, right? Harry Kane, believe it or not, has an agent. In fact, I think it's his brother. You signed a 6-year deal. You were happy to sign that 6-year deal. Why your clever agent brother couldn't get you some kind of release clause, some kind of actual written agreement, which would have some validity when you're dealing with Daniel Levy, who's one of the most experienced people out there. I don't believe this for a second that you would actually say, oh, well, but you had a verbal agreement. Well, you know what? I had a gentleman's agreement with Stevie to go and take his Range Rover for a joyride. Come on, it doesn't work that way. I think it's very, very simple. He thought that things were going to work out with Mourinho and whatever, and that the club was going to spend money, he was going to win things at Spurs. Now, obviously, he's realizing, hey, maybe it's not going to happen. All this stuff about winning team trophies. Oh, let me go and jump on the Manchester City bandwagon and go win something over there. And I think it's as simple as that. I'm sure there's a price at which Levy will cave, because there's a price at which it makes sense to sell Kane. But please don't bring up this gentleman's agreement stuff. Yeah. I mean, we're grown-ups, right?
Tell me why else Harry Kane is not turning up at training. Because I agree with everything you've said. It's the agent and the brother's fault for putting him in a situation where he wasn't able to get out of this. But the fact is, you please tell me, give me something else other than he just wants away. Because I don't believe Harry Kane, being the way he is, would not turn up for training unless, listen. You clearly don't seem to hang much of your hat on a gentleman's agreement. I certainly hope I don't ever make one with you, because you kind of threw it out the window. But I can't come up with any other reason why Harry Kane hasn't turned up for training.
No way, Stevie has a Range Rover.
Yeah. He's got a Prius. Interesting guy.
You can take his Prius for a joyride.
Hey, by the way, second-hand cars are worth a fortune these days, not more.
Look, he signed a 6-year deal. He signed an absolute monster of a deal. When you sign a deal like that, you as a player, you don't really you give up leverage. In exchange for those 6 years, you give up the leverage to go and make a deal. If he'd signed even a 4-year deal or a 5-year deal, he'd be a little bit closer to that point where he could maybe force a deal through. He gave that up. If on top of that, he genuinely thought that Harry Kane, that Levy was going to put something in writing, then I'm sorry, they're being naive. I genuinely think he thought Spurs were going to be in better shape than they are now. Maybe he believed in Mourinho or Pochettino. Remember where they were going at the time. I mean, this is a team that they finished second, they finished third, they were in a Champions League final. He thought we're going places when he signed the deal. Now he looks around and he sees Nuno Espirito Santo, and he probably gets depressed like most people do. And he's wondering, where are we going? And he says, I have a chance to win something. I'm still young enough to do something. Who wouldn't want to go play for Manchester City? Well, the problem is you can't do that when you sign a deal for 6 years. You don't have the leverage unless you're willing to go and be the bad guy and be the villain and come back late and hide and not say anything and force a move. And and it's not something that we expected from Harry Kane, because it's not a side of him that we've seen all along. I genuinely didn't think I would ever see this from him.
Don?
I don't agree with Gab in terms of the player hasn't got leverage. I think the player's always got the leverage. Going off piste, I had a similar scenario when I was at Sunderland, and I was going from Sunderland to West Ham, and I signed for Sunderland, and I had 4 football clubs that wanted my signature at the time, and I agreed to sign for Sunderland on over 4 years a £2 million pay cut that I would have got over the 4 years at the other 3 clubs. And my gentleman agreement at the time was, if I do well in my first year, that contract gets ripped up, we start again, and I get parity on the highest earners, which was Niall Quinn and Kevin Phillips at the time. And I shook hands with the owner, Bob Murray, the chief executive at the time. I had my best ever season. West Ham then came in for me the year later. They submitted a bid. I went to the club and said, listen, I don't want to go. We've, a gentleman's agreement. We've shaken hands about me getting parity. They then backtracked on that. So then I wouldn't say I forced the move, but I accepted the contract at West Ham and moved on. The difference is I reported for training. Harry Kane's very, very naughty in not reporting for training. That's a bad move, in my opinion. A professional footballer should report for training. Pierre Van Hooijdonk, many, many years ago, done the same at Nottingham Forest. He should report for training, that's for sure. But I don't agree with Gab in saying the player hasn't got leverage, because, in my opinion, what I see now is checkmate. I think it's every chance now that Harry Kane makes the move, because he's going to fall out with Daniel Levy. There's going to be an impasse. They're going to be not happy with each other's involvement in it. And I think as long as Man City then come up with a price, if they do, if they haven't blown all that money on Jack Grealish, I think it's still a certainty that he moves.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.